Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're actually heading into Oma's organic kitchen garden. We'll be joining Kesser and his friend Steen.
That's right. And the focus is really on getting hands-on setting up a strawberry patch.
Exactly. Using this specific method, Kesser uses the Lasagna Method for a raised bed.
Yeah, we've been looking at the source, strawberry, and it details Kesser inviting Steen, he's from his Rouge innovation class,
Ah, okay.
to help transplant strawberries into this brand new raised bed Kesser's built.
So it's a really practical look at, growing your own food naturally.
Absolutely. And today we're really zoning in on how Kesser does it, showing Steen the ropes.
So our mission for you, listening in, is to get some useful takeaways for maybe starting your own strawberry patch.
And to understand a bit more about the thinking behind organic gardening, how natural methods can help keep plants healthy.
Right. We'll see. Kesser and Steen build in this bed. It's inspired by Hügel culture.
Which uses wood, basically.
Yeah, but here, Kesser's using tree trunks, not treated lumber, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And the strawberries are already flowering in the main garden.
So the goal is practical. Show Steen how it's done so he can replicate it.
Okay, so straight away, it seems like this approach challenges some common gardening ideas.
It does. The article mentions how people often want, exact measurements for raised beds, precise spacing for plants.
Yeah, you see that a lot, those perfectly neat rows in commercial fields. You kind of assume that's the only way.
But in Oma's garden, it's more fluid. They talk about maybe mixing different strawberry varieties.
Oh, interesting.
And even intercropping with other plants, maybe flowers. The spacing isn't so rigid.
And using different soil levels. How does that work?
Well, the idea is it helps suppress weeds using the vertical space as well as the horizontal. It's more integrated.
Right, a whole little ecosystem in the bed.
And the source makes a point of saying Oma's method isn't like a strict recipe you have to follow.
Because things vary.
Exactly. Soil conditions are different everywhere, and maybe you decide to plant something else there later. It acknowledges that variability.
Which makes sense for a herb garden. It's different from, say, professional growers who
Right.
need that consistency for the market. Right?
Precisely. They have different pressures needing that uniform supply. Home gardeners have more freedom to experiment, to work with nature a bit more.
Okay, so let's get into the construction. This lasagna bed Kesser's making for the new strawberries.
Right. So what's really cool is how resourceful Kesser is. He's not buying new timber for the frame.
What's he using instead?
Tree branches. Just lays them right on the ground.
On the grass.
Well, over old newspapers or cardboard first. That's the base layer.
Ah, okay. To kill the grass underneath.
Exactly. It acts as a weed barrier, smothers the grass, and eventually it just breaks down and feeds the soil.
Clever. And then the lasagna layers.
Yeah. Then come the layers on top of the branches and cardboard. Sawdust, horse manure, compost.
Like a layer cake or lasagna, hence the name.
You got it. And it's a fantastic way to use up garden materials that some people might just throw away, Branches, clippings, manure if you can get it.
Recycling in action, basically.
Totally. It highlights using what's available around you.
And the cost isn't really money, is it? It's more about your time and, well, a bit of physical work.
The article even jokes it's like getting a workout without the gym membership.
Ah, build the garden bed, skip the gym. I like it. It's so efficient.
Pretty much. So once the bed's built, then it's time for the actual strawberry plants.
And Oma has a system for this, too.
Yeah, there's a tradition in the garden of renewing the strawberry plants roughly every 3 years.
Roughly, so not a hard rule.
No, the source emphasizes it depends on the situation, how the plants are doing. But the key thing for our focus today is that Kesser and Oma propagate their own plants.
Okay, so they're not buying new ones all the time. It's sustainable.
Exactly. And the ideal time mentioned for transplanting these new young plants is August.
Why August?
It gives them enough time to settle in, establish their roots before winter hits.
So they're ready to fruit properly the next summer. Makes sense.
And here's a fun fact the article throws in, botanically speaking. A strawberry isn't actually a berry.
Go on.
It's technically a nut. Or rather, the little seeds on the outside are the nuts, the true fruits.
No way. So what's the red bit we eat?
That's the swollen, fleshy part of the flower's base, the receptacle.
Huh. You learn something new every day.
Neat.
So the part we love isn't even the fruit.
Kind of blows your mind, right? Anyway, back to making new plants. Kesser and Oma use runners.
Ah, yes, the runners. I've seen those. Little stems shooting out from the main plant.
That's them. They're called stolins, technically. They creep across the soil surface.
And new plants just pop up along them.
Pretty much. Little plantlets form, and where they touch the soil, they start sending down roots. They're essentially clones of the mother plant.
So how do you capture those?
Well, the article mentions a couple of options Steen could learn. You can just wait until the plantlets have rooted themselves well.
And then dig them up and move them.
Yeah, carefully transplant them. Or you can be a bit more proactive.
How so?
You can place small pots filled with soil right next to the runners, near a developing plantlet.
And encourage it to root directly into the pot.
Exactly. Makes transplanting even easier later.
That sounds like a good tip for seed team. Definitely something he could try at home.
But there's a crucial piece of advice given.
Oh.
It says to only take new plants from the first plantlet that forms on each runner, the one closest to the mother plant.
Only the first one. Why is that?
Presumably, it's the strongest, gets the most energy initially. The advice is to let the rest of the runner grow a bit, maybe form another node or two, but then snip it off and compost the later plantlets.
Focus on quality over quantity, maybe. Selecting the best ones.
Seems like it. It really shows that gardening isn't just about following dates on a calendar.
No, it's more about watching the plants, understanding their cycles.
And working with those natural tendencies, that cyclical nature.
Okay, so the new plants are propagated, the lasagna bed is built. What about keeping them happy in their new home?
Well, the raised bed itself offers advantages. It warms up faster in the spring.
Gets the plants going earlier.
Potentially, yes. And drainage is usually better than in flat ground.
But there's a downside to good drainage.
There can be. It means they can also dry out faster, especially in summer. So watering needs careful attention.
Right. Need to keep an eye on moisture levels.
And the article links this back to where strawberries originally grew, often in woodland clearings. They like sun, but also consistent moisture in the soil.
Makes sense. And of course, the strawberries we grow now aren't quite like the wild ones.
No, generations of human cultivation, hybridization, it's created this huge diversity of varieties we have today, all with slightly different needs and characteristics.
Okay, so let's talk about challenges. Pests, diseases. Strawberries can be prone to issues, right?
They can, and the article specifically brings up botrytis. Gray mold, it's a common fungal disease, affects lots of different plants, especially if they're stressed or weakened, and it can be a real headache for strawberry growers.
Right. I've seen that fuzzy gray stuff sometimes.
Exactly. And the source mentions something quite sobering: spray residue surveys in Denmark.
What did they find?
They indicated that strawberries were among the crops most heavily sprayed with pesticides and often had the highest residue levels.
Wow, that's not great.
No. And it provides a stark contrast to Ilma's whole philosophy, her commitment to serving completely unsprayed produce from her garden.
Which is what Kesser is learning, and presumably what many home gardeners want too. Less reliance on chemicals.
Precisely. And this leads Kesser to do some investigating. He wonders why wild strawberries don't seem to get hit by botrytis so badly.
Okay, so he's looking to nature for clues. What did he find?
His research pointed him towards the role of calcium in plant health and disease resistance.
Calcium. Like for strong bones, but for plants.
Sort of. Calcium is vital for cell wall structure in plants. The idea is that stronger cell walls might make it harder for the fungus to penetrate.
That's really interesting. So he connected scientific studies to his own garden.
Yes, that's what's insightful. He's reading research about calcium and botrytis and thinking, okay, how can I apply this on my scale in Oma's garden?
And how does he apply it? What's his method?
One key thing mentioned is crushed eggshells.
Eggshells. Just ordinary eggshells.
Yep. The article notes they're about 95% calcium carbonate.
Okay.
And crucially, Kesser isn't using them primarily to change the soil pH, which lime or calcium carbonate can do. He's using them specifically as a source of calcium nutrient for the plants.
So it's about feeding the plant, making it stronger from the inside out, potentially?
That seems to be the thinking, targeting a specific nutritional need that might bolster the plant's own defenses against disease like botrytis.
And eggshells are, well, basically free if you eat eggs.
Yeah.
A readily available resource.
Exactly. Very much in line with the garden's philosophy. The article also briefly mentions Kesser experimenting with a cold-pressed tea.
A tea for the strawberries.
Yeah. Another way he's trying to boost calcium. It's stressed that this isn't a pesticide needing approval or anything like that.
More like a homemade plant tonic.
Right. The specifics of the recipe aren't given today, maybe for another time, but it shows his ongoing experimentation with these natural approaches to plant health.
Okay, so let's quickly recap what we've seen with Kesser and Steen today. focusing on those key actions.
Sure. We saw Kesser showing Steen how to build that lasagna bed using branches, cardboard, manure, compost. It's all about using organic materials you have on hand.
Right, a practical skill Steen can take home. Then there's the propagation.
Making new strawberry plants from runners, specifically taking that first plantlet, ensuring they have a continuous, healthy supply of their own plants.
A sustainable cycle. And finally, tackling that botrytis problem.
Yeah, Kesser's approach, informed by research, using crushed eggshells not just randomly, but as a targeted source of calcium.
To potentially help the plants resist the disease naturally.
Exactly. It's a great example of someone observing, researching, and applying knowledge in their own garden. And importantly, sharing that knowledge, teaching Steen.
It really empowers you as a gardener to see these practical, low-cost, natural methods in action.
Absolutely. It shows you can learn about organic principles and plant health in a really hands-on way.
So, building on that, here's something for you to think about. Kesser used eggshells, something often discarded. What other waste materials or simple resources in your environment might actually hold hidden value for your garden?
It makes you look at things differently, doesn't it? Thinking about those connections in nature and how we can work with them.